Steve Shetler Media presents Tuesday Night Tune-Up, TNT. Coming to you from Smoky Row in Oskaloosa, Iowa. On Steve Shetler Media, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m., April 16th through August 13th. Hosted by Safe Craft Geek. Talking to local and area drivers. Get tuned up for the racing week ahead with Tuesday Night Tune-Up, TNT. Starting April 16th, live from Smoky Row in Oskaloosa, right here on Steve Shetler Media.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, for frequency's sake tag team champions of the world, the Wizard CZ, and never wrong, Nick Cole.
Hello, all. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast. We're so happy you're here to join us. Welcome in. We're here to talk some wrestling, and this is the podcast by the fan for the fan. And in doing so, we're having a fan on today. But before we get to that fan, I got to introduce you to my tag team partner, co-champs of the For Frequency's Sake Network. We are the tag team champs of the world, the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing?
Hey, I'm feeling pretty good. It's a beautiful day. I've got the curtains open, the window open. I'm enjoying what I can while I'm inside doing the podcast from the Wizard Studios. I know you're out in the Highview Studios, so you're out actually enjoying the weather. I'll get out later. But yeah, like you said, podcast by the fans for the fans, and we've got a fan with us today here to talk about his life in wrestling. Let's welcome in Striker. Striker, welcome to the show. How you doing, buddy?
Well, thank you for having me.
Striker,
How are you?
we're doing great, Striker. We're happy you're here. Of course, this is the man. This is the mystery man under the hat. We're going to do all we can to get to know Striker here in the next 45 minutes to an hour or so. And we both met Striker at an SCW Pro show. That's the best part about being at a wrestling show, is meeting the fans and interacting with them. And Striker is a fan of our show, of course. But talk about what it means. I'll ask you the first question I ask all of our guests, Striker. What is it about pro wrestling? Why pro wrestling? What got you hooked?
Man, I think it was since probably the beginning. Probably the first time I've watched it, I was hooked right away.
What was that first show? What do you remember being the first incarnation of wrestling that you watched?
It was probably at my great grandma's. One night, one of my cousins said, "Hey, can I watch this wrestling show?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure, whatever." I didn't know anything about it, but then once it turned on, I was like, "Wow!" I was just hooked right away. Seeing
What hooked you?
I think it was with the storytelling and the action.
All right. So
Obviously,
about
storytelling.
Go ahead, Nick.
Storytelling's a big part of wrestling, and action's a big part of wrestling. We met you at an SCW Pro show, and I know you've been going to them long before we met you, and you've going to us long before after you. Why do when you go to an SCW Pro show or an indie show for that matter, what are you going for? What's the one thing you're looking for, or the one thing you're hoping to see while you're there?
I just love being with people that enjoy the same thing I do. Just enjoying the show and talking to the guys after a show or even halftime.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Who do you gravitate towards? Who are some of your favorites? Who, if you could name like a specific wrestler that got you hooked or a specific match, talk about that. What person got you tuned in, and why was it?
Are you saying for SCW or just in general?
Both.
Well, I would say in the beginning, it was Triple H. He's always been that guy. Like, I can watch his entrance or listen to him on the mic day in, day out. And then for SCW wise, our good buddy, JT Energy, he just spoke to me right away as a gimmick and just as a wrestler.
Now, I understand that probably says I'm a Paul Heyman shirt. Is it safe to say you're a Paul Levesque guy too?
Well, of course.
We'll talk about what Paul Levesque is doing now in WWE. He's kind of righted the ship. There's new management. There seems to be a new breath of fresh air, a new era of sorts on our hands. What were your thoughts on WrestleMania? Either night, matches that you took away from it that you were impressed with. What were just your overall thoughts?
Oh, it was fantastic start from finish, unless we're talking about the Uso match.
And we won't talk about the Uso match.
No.
What stuck out for you on night one, Striker?
I would honestly say either the main event or that ladder match.
That ladder match was a lot of fun. Were you happy with who came out winning the ladder match? Were there other teams that you were rooting for? Any surprised by either of the winners?
I would say that I'm just happy that they're finally splitting the titles and not keeping one team having each belt.
I agree. What caught your eye on night two? What's your favorite match coming off of night two of WrestleMania?
I would have to say the main event.
It was a great match.
It's very hard to get two nights where you have two main events with so many moving parts in both those matches, and they hit a home run in both match. They told a great story in both match. You mentioned you like storytelling. They told a great story. Rock told a great story on Saturday night.
Yes.
People can knock him. People can call him Hollywood Rock. But for a 52-year-old entertainer, he was amazing out there. He told a great story. And then in the Bloodline Rules main event, obviously with Roman and Cody, a lot of moving parts. And everybody just knocked it out of the park. And I rewatched it for the third time the other night, and it's still is perfection to me. I don't know how anybody can rip that match apart. To me, it did everything it was supposed to do. It dotted every I, it crossed every T, and I'm really looking forward to what Cody has in store for his reign. I guess I'm going to ask you about Cody now as the new champion, this breath of fresh air of sorts in the WWE. Who are some guys you want to see him take on in his title reign coming up? A bunch of fresh matchups that we haven't seen before, possibly never seen. Talk about some matchups you would like to see Cody have.
Honestly, I would love to see like him and AJ Styles go at it.
Yeah, sign me up.
We ever had a one-on-one.
I don't know if they have. You know, they've got that Bullet Club relationship in common. But yes, AJ Styles doesn't have bad matches at all, and him and Cody Rhodes, I think, would be phenomenal. No pun intended.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Cody and AJ are the only two active wrestlers, 2 of 4, who have held both the NWA and the WWE Championship.
Yeah, I think you're right.
They are. Yep, very good. Besides AJ Styles, who are you looking for? Who are you looking for Cody to take on?
Well, I don't know if they're gonna push it like immediately, but I like to see Tamayo Toga and Cody.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that'd be a hell of a match.
Maybe if we're lucky, maybe a Jey Uso of former tag team partners go at it.
What were your thoughts? You know, you mentioned Tama Tonga. What were your thoughts seeing him arrive on the scene on SmackDown?
I'm just surprised they were giving him the main event push. I thought they were going to put him to NXT at the time.
I think there were a lot of people sharing those thoughts. It's I don't think it's a bad thing. He does have that lineage with the bloodline, not directly, but directly, but not directly, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be a lot of fun. I think we're going to see another incarnation of the bloodline civil war as things shake out. Possibly, I've seen speculation online, and I wouldn't be opposed to this. Possibly a Jacob Fatu coming in and teaming with Tama Tonga and Solo. and the Usos reuniting with Roman to kind of decide who the tribal chief is moving forward. Is it going to be Solo? Is it going to be Roman? I see those two being the headline in the near future.
They're really sowing the seeds, fellas, I think, for something special. And it started the other night on SmackDown. That was special, how they brought in Tama Tonga, beat down Jimmy, kicked him out. Solo stomping on Heyman's phone, much to Heyman's dismay. Heyman played that segment perfectly, in my opinion. He just, when one door closes for Heyman, another one opens. And this is another storyline for him to shine in and to be great in. And I'm telling you what, when Roman Reigns does return, it'll probably be to a face pop to take on the Rogue bloodline, and it's going to be magical. It's going to be great. Like, it could be 2 months down the road. It could be 6 months down the road. I really hope they let this story soak, let it become a bigger thing, get another member in there, let these members run roughshod, and then when that moment comes back, it's going to be great, and Heyman's going to be, and I'm going off you wearing the Heyman shirt there, Striker. Heyman's going to be a big part of this storyline as well.
I could totally see that happening because I feel like we're gonna have like who's Heyman's on the side with, the new bloodline or the old bloodline?
Right, because Solo answered. Solo told him these were the tribal chief's orders, which they clearly weren't. It seems as though Solo is acting as a rogue member of the bloodline, which I love. Finally they have something for Solo other than standing there and looking like the badass that he is. He's finally getting some mic time. He's finally going to get some spotlight, which I think is going to be big for his character development, big for his growth in the ring. I'm really looking forward to that. But this new bloodline thing it's not only the great unknown is we don't know who Cody's going to face yet at Backlash and who his future opponents are going to be. Who's Cody going to face at SummerSlam? I couldn't even tell you right now, and that's great. We don't know. It's great that we don't have an idea. But this new bloodline thing, I think, is going to be something special. It's going to, where the bloodline ended, this one's going to take it and go to the next level. And I'm anxious to see and excited to see where it goes.
Yes. Striker, let me backtrack a little bit here. I want to ask you the same question I ask anyone who tells me they're a Paul Levesque or Triple H guy. Which is his best entrance music, and why is it the King of Kings?
No, it's not.
Well, I would say the early 2000s one. Come on. God, what was the song? You Want Some song?
Okay. So
and King of Kings will also be one of the best theme songs as well.
Now I know what Never Wrong's gonna say. He's partial to the Evolution theme. I can see it in his eyes, and I'm not negating that. But what I meant when I asked that question is Solo theme song.
Okay.
The Evolution theme is absolutely amazing. You know, Motorhead doing 3 of his entrance themes in one incarnation or another of Triple H is fantastic. But as far as Solo entrance themes goes, I will always advocate for him coming out to King of Kings as opposed to the game.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because it seems like it fits him more.
I agree. I mean, you can't come out on a throne with a skull crown. And I mean, it would have just been if he had come out to the King of Kings on that night. Was that WrestleMania 30, I believe? If my memory is correct, I would have been ecstatic. That would have been just so fitting and so perfect. We were talking about WrestleMania. I want to ask your opinion on the other side of the coin. We had Drew versus Seth. Obviously, Drew came away with the win, but did not walk out of WrestleMania with the title. What are your thoughts on Damian Priest?
I'm really curious what they're going to be doing with him. Because there's no storyline as of right now. But I'm just curious on what's next for him.
Yeah, all this time with... Oh, go ahead, Striker.
Because I originally thought on the Raw after Mania, I thought the Judgment Day was going to turn on him. Because he wore a completely different outfit of different color than everybody else. And how he had his own separate entrance and new theme song.
with
That's right.
Damian Priest, we get these fresh matchups, right? We don't know.
Oh,
We don't know where he's going to lead. He's been in a tag team with Finn Balor. They've done a great job of defending both of the sets of the tag titles. They lost them at the WrestleMania ladder match, but Damian never really been feuding with anybody except maybe R-Truth on the side. Maybe R-Truth is the first one in line for the title shot. No, we find out Jey Uso is the number one contender now, and Jey Uso to me is the right guy to put in there with Damian right now. Jey Uso can work. He's definitely got the crowd on his side. He's a big time face. He's a big time face. My son walking through the studio here does the Jey Uso for me while we're on the air. He's a big time face that can work, and he's going to work well with Damian Priest. And Damian Priest is a good worker too. Damian Priest won this world title when he was working with Bad Bunny. They seen what he was able to do with a big time celebrity. He protected him. He made him look like $1 million. Everybody loved that match. The crowd loved that match. I think that night they knew that Damian Priest was a future world champion. That's why they gave him the Money in the Bank. I'm glad to see him finally cash it in. I love how he cashed it in with CM Punk's involvement, because in my opinion, CM Punk and Drew doesn't need the belt for their feud. It's got enough emotion and pettiness and trash talk between the two of them to work on its own. But Damian Priest and Jey Uso, I'm really interested in seeing this fresh matchup. And we're going to get a bunch more fresh matchups, fellas, as we have the drafts in the coming weeks. I mean, we haven't even really talked about the draft yet. I mean, so much can happen in just these next couple weeks, people switching shows. So we might get Jey Uso and Damian Priest might be just a one-off before the flip-flop of the draft happens. So I don't know. I'm really excited to see what the draft brings.